Hi, my name is Sarah Bjorkman and I am a board certified OBGYN and I'm also a first time mom. This video is going to be all about using a Spectra Breast Pump because I had no idea what I was doing when I started pumping, breastfeeding, etc. And so I realized I was talking to one of my girlfriends who is about to have a baby last week, and I was like, yeah, I use these different flanges, blah, blah, blah. And she said, what is a flange? And I remembered being in that same place where I didn't know what a flange was. I didn't know what a duckbill was. So you learn very quickly on the job, but if this can help you figure out how to use your pump a little more quickly, then that's awesome. So let's get started. Number one, I am an OBGYN. I am not a lactation consultant. This is stuff that I have learned kind of on the job and doing it myself. I cannot stress how important being plugged in with a good IBCLC is. They have so much knowledge about everything, breastfeeding, pumping, all the things. Definitely find yourself one of those, but this can be good for some tips to get you started. So I chose a Spectra pump for my base pump. I'll tell you what that means in a second. My insurance paid for it. Most of the OBGYN moms and my friends have used a Spectra and absolutely loved it. It's very simple and really great. So when you first open the box, the first thing you're going to see is the Spectra pump itself. The blue one, there's also a pink one. This is the S1, there's an S2. The blue one has a battery. So you can plug it into the wall to charge it, or you can, move it to sit on the couch with you. I believe my insurance charged me $100 to be able to get the one that had a battery. It is worth it. Put this on your registry, breast pump stuff on your registry, because it's kind of a must if you are going to need to pump. So the Spectra, things that come in the box. We have tubing. Okay, this is tubing. These are backflow protectors. They detach from this tubing that connects to the pump. You will see that there is kind of this little plastic membrane that then goes into the backflow protector. You put these together. So what this does is, we're going to come back to what this does, okay? I'm just going to show you all of the parts first, okay? So that was the pump. The other things that come in this box are some little bottles, okay? 2 different sizes of flanges, okay? There is a 28 millimeter and a 24 millimeter flange, so this is a flange. This is what is going to go on your boob. There is a charger to charge your Spectra. You can charge it and then unplug it, and the battery lasts a while, or if you need to, it can be plugged into a wall and work. Spectra also throws in some little nipples and to make those collection cups into a bottle. If you wanted to use that, you can. I do not. Everybody liked the Como bottles for exclusive breastfeeding, so that is what we use. And then here is that other size flange. This is a 24 millimeter flange. We'll talk about what size flanges you should use in a little bit. So back to putting your pump together. Generally speaking, you're going to get the pump, you're going to have the tubing, everything is separate. There's also this little, so this is a double pump, meaning that you can plug 2 in and be pumping 2 boobs at once, or you can do a single pump. There you will see this tiny little, I don't think you can probably see it here, there's a little cap that is on the Spectra where these tubes plug in. If you wanted to do a single pump, you can put this cap on one of the holes and just plug 1 tube in. If for some reason you wanted to just pump 1 breast at a time, if you'd fed baby off 1 breast and just needed to pump the other. My first pro tip here is never push this little cap on too far. Just barely cover it, because otherwise it gets shoved on there and it is such a pain in the butt to get this little plastic cap off. They need to put a tab on it or something, because It's such a pain in the butt to get that little cap off for when you want to use both pumps. So here's your pump, here's your tubing. I dropped the other, of course. So you are going to take your pump, you are going to plug this tubing onto each of these little holes here. Sorry, this is a little struggle. It's tiny little things. Oh, see, I can't do it. I also can't set it on my lap because then you wouldn't be able to see it. Okay. We're getting this set up. Dog hair on that one. Let's try this again. Okay, so the tubing's plugged in. The next thing you want to do is you want to get those backflow protectors we talked about. You'll put them together just like this. They come apart. These things are all washable. You should wash everything in hot, soapy water. It is all dishwasher safe, but that will wear your parts out a little bit faster. Backflow protector is together. You take the little end. There's a bigger end and a little end. Plug little end into the tubing. Plug the little end into the tubing. Oh, look at us, guys. We are almost ready to rock. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your little bottle. This is what's going to collect your milk. You're going to take your flange. Key here for the flange is you need a duckbill valve. This is what creates the suction to be able to pump breast milk from the pump to your breast. So you see your flange. At the bottom of the flange, there is a spot where you will push on this duckbill valve. So it looks something like this. Okay? Flange, duckbill valve. Now we screw this on to our little collection pump. Okay, so we are just about ready. You now take that backflow protector and hook it right here on the back of the flange. Woo! We're ready to rock. So what this backflow protector does is it prevents any liquid from getting into this tubing and getting into your pump. Because if water, liquid moisture gets into your pump, it's going to wreck the pump. So that is what it means when we say backflow protector. When you are pumping, there's sometimes like a little bit of spray that comes, and you will see that with this backflow protector, it gets a little bit of water in here. So you hook these two babies up. You need a pumping bra to be able to pump. This is the Auden pumping bra. You can get it at Target. It's like I find the pump and nurse bras are my favorite because, you know, maybe you can nurse the baby all day, but then you need to pump at night or whatever your workflow is. I'm just lazy and I don't want to change bras to have to pump. That's such a huge pain. So I look for bras that are pump and nurse. I know that Kindred Bravely makes some. I wear a really cheap one from Amazon. It's like a Lupinette, I think is the brand that I can link. And then these Auden ones are really nice. This is the general setup, okay? Pump, tubing, backflow protector, duckbill valve, flange. You now know the parts of a Spectra. There are some hacks or different things you can do that I have done. I did not love these flanges. They're really hard plastic. I just wasn't a fan. I follow an Instagram account called Be My Breast Friend, and it provides invaluable tips for pumping as well as legendary milk. I can put these in below. But anyway, I learned about this from her. So that hard plastic flange wasn't pleasant. So I started using these Lactec Baby Motion flanges. Right here. They're supposed to mimic baby suckling, soft and comfortable, and a better seal is what they say. They're silicone, okay? They're just I find a lot more comfortable than that hard plastic flange. They also come in more sizes, so depending on your nipple size, that's important too. So I did not have the standard 24 or 28 millimeter nipples, and so I could order the size I needed. You can, you need a little adapter for the Spectra bottles. This is the adapter. I'll link these on Amazon. It's just standard. You put your flange, the baby motion flange, in this adapter, okay? Again, duckbill valve under here. And these are the duckbill valves from Legendary Milk, another great Insta account, and they have some breastfeeding products. These duckbills, literally one of the reasons I love these is they have this little tab, so you can easily put them on and off. The duckbills that come with the Spectra, they're white. They don't have this tab, and sometimes it's a huge, like, you just can't get them off. Anyway, so this is my hack for pumping, because I didn't love the flanges that came with the Spectra. Same deal, looks the same setup, it's just this softer, more comfortable flange. Hook it up, again, we're ready to rock. So another important thing to do, honestly, is to measure your nipples. This can change from pre-pregnancy to after, so it's a good idea to wait till after you have your baby, even a couple weeks postpartum. Often, if you're able to exclusively breastfeed, they say, wait a couple weeks till you start pumping. Some moms can't do that. Sometimes you're doing triple feed and you're pumping right away. It's a great idea to talk to your lactation consultant when you are at the hospital to have them help you figure out sizing, so you know what size flange you need. If you're like me and you're a do-it-yourselfer, you can order a stencil from Amazon to measure your nipples. Some of the other pumps require like really exact sizing for flanges. The Spectra is not one of them, but basically 1 to 2 hours after you've fed, you kind of stimulate your nipple a little bit, and then you see which one of these stencils it goes through. Where it fits, like, without any extra room. For Spectra, based on what that is, you add 2 to 3 millimeters to figure out your flange size. So if your nipple is 20 millimeters, you probably can get away with that 24 millimeter pump. If you find out your nipple is 15 millimeters, you are going to need to get a different size flange. You don't want too much tissue pulled in. You don't want zero tissue pulled in. So anyway, these are some tricks that I did to figure out what size flanges I needed, etc. Spectra settings. So Spectra is really neat in that it has a 2 different modes. It has a letdown mode, which is, it's at 70. There's 2 different settings on a Spectra. There is the cycles per minute, and then there is the vacuum. So the cycle is how fast it's going. The vacuum is how hard it's sucking. And you can adjust both of these things on the Spectra, which actually is why it's such a great pump, because everyone's different, and how fast you need and how much suck you need is different for everyone. And so this allows you to adjust both things. So the letdown mode, you're going to be at 70 cycles, and then you can kind of just play with the vacuum. Generally recommended settings from what I've Googled are somewhere around a vacuum of 3 to 4 for this letdown mode. And so this just mimics your baby being at the breast, starting to get that milk flowing. Usually they recommend you leave this on for about 2 minutes, or until you start to see your milk flowing in those flanges. And this is going to be different for me and different for you, and that's something you'll figure out, but it's great to start in letdown mode, so 70, and then have the vacuum around 3 or 4 and see if that works for you, shooting for about 2 minutes. Once you see your milk coming, that is the letdown. I remember wondering, like, what the heck is a letdown? That's your letdown. Milk is starting to flow. You can switch it to expression mode. That's this middle white button on the top. And so this is going to allow it slows the cycles down. So the cycle options are 54, 50, 46, 42, 38. So 38, I don't know if you can hear this. 38 is a very slow. As we increase that, before we go to 50, now we're at, and then 54 is the fastest it goes in expression mode. So this is something you want to play with to figure out what works best for you. Some people leave it at 70 in letdown mode, and that's good for them, and they just increase their vacuum. My settings, oh shoot, now I switched them. I feel like, and it stays where you had it where you last left it. Me, personally, I have it, I think at about 50 and with a vacuum of 7, and that is, I leave it there the whole time, and that works for me. There's some different little like ideal Spectra setting memes that I will post for you. I'll link here where you kind of change your settings. You start at 54 and you leave it here for 2 minutes, and then you drop it down to 50 and you leave it there for 4 minutes, and then you drop it down to 42 and you leave it there for a minute, and then you end at 38. It doesn't matter. If that works best for you and empties you, great. Again, I wanted to kind of put my pumps on and not mess with this, and so the 50 and 7 worked for me. Again, the vacuum goes up to a 12. This is, you hear that? It's really intense. That is like overdrive pump. You kind of want to, and more suction does not equal more milk is another important thing I've learned. If you suck too hard, it actually can collapse those ducts in your breast. And so you want to find the level of suction where you are expressing milk and it's comfortable. And kind of the lowest setting you can achieve that with is where you want to have your pump. And so for me, I found 6 or 7 worked great. I have had a couple clogged ducts, which was miserable, and on those days I would crank this baby up to a 12 and really like massage and try to get that clog out. But otherwise, my pump just lives between expression mode and then 50 and 7. Play with it. Check out these ideal Spectra settings that I put up and try them and see what works best for you. It really is a lot of trial and error. The other thing I think is important for pumping is hands-on pumping can be really helpful to gently massage your breasts. There's some different warmers you can get that I don't have, but they're like warming massagers. LaVie makes them that you kind of like put in your bra and they warm and massage. But I can't fully empty without doing some massage to help. It's very gentle. This is not like aggressive or squeezing or anything. It's just like gentle massage to make sure that you are getting all of the milk out of your breasts. Any other things that I can think of? No, pumping's kind of a pain. Oh, when to replace these things. So it really depends on if you are an exclusive pumper or only pump, once per day. The frequency at which you need to change your parts depends on how often you use them. So your duckbill valves, if you pump more than 3 times per day, you're going to want to change those duckbills once per month. Okay? So 3 or more times per day, change these once a month. This is really what helps provide that suction. So these are a really important thing for getting good output. If you pump less than 3 times per day, replacing these, every 2 to 3 months is going to be fine. Also, Spectra recommends not putting these in the dishwasher to extend their life. And you can just wash them in hot soapy water. Mine occasionally go in the dishwasher. That's just like real life for me. If I might have to replace them sooner. What else do we have? Backflow protectors. These bad boys. These need to, so again, not all pumps have it. Everything I'm talking about here is for the Spectra. If you pump 3 or more times per day, you're going to want to replace your backflow protectors every 3 months. If you pump less than 3 times per day, every 6 months. My one pro tip on these is after you pump, make sure that you take these apart and dry the one side of this backflow protector, because it does get some moisture in between these. And one time, this was early, I didn't realize that happened, and I looked down one day and there was mold growing in this, and I almost threw up. So you just have to make sure you are drying this. This isn't something I wash every day, but it is something I make sure that is dry every single day, so you don't get moisture and mold, because that's disgusting and you're giving milk to your baby. Your flanges or your breast shields, these really need to be replaced every 6 months. Every 6 months, or immediately if you noted a tear or a crack in them. You're going to want to get rid of it. The silicone ones can have tears, those plastic ones can crack, and they just aren't going to provide the suction you need. Tubing, the tubing that's connecting the motor to the pump, this needs to be, how often are you supposed to replace that? You really just need to replace that if you notice moisture in it. You need to replace it immediately, because if moisture gets into your pump, it's gonna fry it. Or sometimes you'll notice that the connection here gets loose, the tubing starts to get kind of worn out and doesn't connect well. You're also gonna wanna replace it then. That is kind of how to use the Spectra 101 with some like little flange hacks, how to clean it, how to clean stuff. The other thing I did mention at the beginning, I said, a lot of people recommend this is your base pump. That just means there's a lot of other pumps out there, like the Willow, the Elvie, Freemie cups, different things that are more wearable and more portable, possibly more convenient. But what you will find, and many women find, is that those do not empty your breasts quite as well as a Spectra or a Medela or some different pump. And in the beginning, in those first 6 to 10, 12 weeks, when you are establishing your supply, it is really important, if you are pumping, that when you pump, you are emptying your breasts. And so, for example, I have a Willow, and I will get half the output with the Willow that I do with my Spectra, with my base pump. Like, it's just a really good, solid pump that empties most people very well. Whereas some of these other wearable pumps, just the suction isn't as good, and they just don't empty women as well. And so if you're consistently leaving behind a few ounces, again, that's going to tell your brain, hey, we don't need all that milk, and it can decrease your supply. So this is a great base pump while you're establishing your supply. Those other wearable pumps, there's lots of Facebook groups to try to help learn how to use the Willow or learn how to use the Elvie, that are things to add in. My advice is to add them in after you establish with the Spectra and establish your supply. And now, that being said, I have some friends whose Willows empty them perfectly. Their output between their Willow and their Spectra is exactly the same, and I'm just jealous because that didn't happen for me. And so this is like my safe, good old friend that is consistently gonna empty the boobs and do the job. And most breastfeeding people have found that to be true, so that's why I like it. It's a great place to start. The portable ones, I've got to figure out something that I'd love to figure out something that works for like the wearable option. I just haven't yet, and having a good supply and emptying my breast was the most important thing to me, and the Spectra does that. So that's the Spectra, that's its parts. That's when we talked about when you need to replace stuff. If you have any questions, any pro tips, please feel free to leave them below. I hope this is helpful, and I hope that your pumping, breastfeeding, feeding your baby journey is going well. We'll see you soon.
We're doctors.
But not your doctors.
Anything we've said in this video is for education or entertainment purposes only.
It is not medical advice.
Any specific medical questions you have should be directed to your provider.